December 2010 Tribute to Madhu celebrating Krishna's cow herding pastime saved by a cow and calf. New admissions. Care for cows in Vrindavan. Care for cows in Vrindavana. CFC trustees Kurmarupa Dasa Hansarupa Dasa Vraja Mohan Dasa Hayavalabha Dasa Amit Dhulani Rakesh Rahira. Patrons Mahanihai Swami Maharaja Radha Jivan Dasa. CFC staff Kesi Nisudana Dasa Braja Gopal Dasa, Switzerland, Puri Maharaja Radhapati Dasa Laxmi Rupa Dasi, Denmark, Siam Hari, Vijay, Ravi, Sukumar, Santosh, Tej Prakash, Ajit editor. Kurmarupa Dasa Care for cows in Vrindavana is inspired by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Dear friends, our Govardhana Puja and Gopastami festivals brought a record crowd. Both celebrations were happy occasions which inspired many to offer well wishes and promises of continued support. Rupa Raghunath of Vrindavan Food for Life has offered to host 40 members of our herd at their hospital/Sandipani Muni School complex in the village of Kiki Nagla, only 2 kilometers further down the Sunrak Road. The cows are sure to be well protected and happy there, as there is good security and several acres of organic vegetables growing. We plan to move the 20 invalid residents to a 1-acre plot just off the Vrindavan Chatti Kara Road. That facility is scheduled to be ready in 1 month. While most are not happy about our moving from the Sundrak facility, it is becoming more and more clear that doing so will give all the cows more room and a healthier environment, as well as involve more people in their service. We pray we can always remain in their service. Jaya Sri Guru. Jaya Sri Gopala. Jaya Sri Gomata. Careforcows.org. Care for Cows in Vrindavan is a charitable trust registered in India, USA, and Switzerland. The CFC staff celebrating Krishna's Govardhana Puja above, a replica of Govardhana Hill made from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, describes how Krishna once convinced his father Nanda Maharaja to abandon the traditional worship of Indra the rain god and instead worship Govardhana Hill. Krishna argued that since Govardhana Hill provided all necessities to their cows, and since the cows in turn provided them with all of their requirements, it was more appropriate to worship Govardhana Hill. Nanda Maharaja conceded to Krishna's argument and offered all the paraphernalia meant for Indra to Govardhana Hill. This infuriated Indra, who retaliated by inundating all of Vrindavan with heavy rains. As the water started to rise, the Vrajabasis desperately appealed to Krishna to save them from drowning. The cows also had no cow herding pastimes. Puja and Gopastami, rice, halava, fresh fruits, dried fruits, and nuts. Sri Gopal, the cowherd boy who lifted Govardhana Hill to protect the cows and Vrajabasis from devastating rainfall, placed to sit and to appease them all. Krishna lifted Govardhana Hill and balanced it on the little finger of his left hand, creating a giant umbrella to shelter the distressed cowherds and cows. Indra was thus defeated, and the residents of Vrindavan reveled in loving exchanges with Krishna under the hill for 7 days. Govardhana Puja was observed this year on November 7, 2010, and more than 250 guests participated by performing kirtana, worship the cow, and partaking in a succulent feast. South Indian priests perform the worship Gopashtami the day Krishna was named Govinda by Jagadananda Dasa above. Devotees perform kirtana in honor of the cow. Upper left, our bulls watch curiously as the preparations are being made. Far left, guests interacting with the calves. Left, an honored calf. Below left, guests preparing to be served the feast after the worship of Govardhana Hill and the cow has been completed. Because Krishna protects the cows, one of his dearest names is Govinda. The first week of the bright fortnight in the month of Kartik, i.e., up to the Saptami, are the days during which Krishna held up Govardhan Hill to protect the cows, cowherds, and milkmaids from the wrath of Indra. On the 8th day, when Indra's ego had been obliterated by Krishna's show of miraculous power, he came down to earth and fell at Krishna's feet, offering prayers and begging forgiveness for his audacity. At the same time, the queen of the divine cows, Surabhi, rained milk on Krishna and consecrated him Govinda, meaning Lord of the cows. This day is commemorated as Gopashtami. Since Krishna loves the cows, one shows one's devotion to him by showing devotion to them. Traditional ways of celebrating the occasion including bathing the cows in the morning and decorating them with flowers, ornaments, and cloth, and offering them and the cowherds who take care of them worship. As a part of the cow worship, the devotees feed them sweets and jaggery by hand, go graze, and circumambulate them several times. One should also walk with them a certain distance and play with them, Gokrita. On Gopashtami, when the cows come back from grazing in the evening, Godhulai Samaya, they are to be greeted and once again given puja with the 5 principal articles. This will increase one's good fortune and lead to the realization of all desires. Gopashtami is celebrated joyfully in almost all parts of India to a greater or lesser extent. But it is a particularly special event in Goshalas, as giving in charity to them is also recommended. The whole day should thus be devoted to contemplating the sacred nature of the bovine species. Our own progress depends on protecting the cows. Protecting them is self-protection, let it be said. Haribhaktivilasa, 16.251-252, recommends the 2 following verses from the Skanda Purana. May the goddess Lakshmi, who is situated amongst the gods in the form of the cow to provide ghee for the sacrifices, free us from the bonds of death. May I always live amongst the cows, may they be before me, behind me, and to my every side. Tribute to Madhu. Madhu Mangal was one of the first patients to be accepted at Care for Cows. He was sitting peacefully on the side of the street ruminating when the driver of a Tata Sumo backed up and crushed his hind leg. Witnesses started screaming and the driver sped forward, crushing the leg again, and drove off. That was May 2001 when Madhu Mangal was 6 months old. After Dr. Lavanya examined him, he reported that so much of the bone had been crushed that amputation was the only solution. After the operation, Madhu did not get up for about 2 weeks and Dr. Lavanya recommended that we make a bamboo frame to support him in a standing position. We did so and gradually Madhu's 3 legs got strong enough that he could stand supported by the frame for 2 hours at a time. After a few days he began to get up by himself and hobble around. He was humble and friendly and seemed grateful that we were helping him. Within a month a cow named Vrinda arrived also with a crushed hind leg that required amputation. She adjusted faster than Madhu and while they lived in the same pen together they bonded and could be seen regularly consoling each other. See cover. It was a good marriage. As Madhu grew his body weight began to collapse his rear ankle and in time he was not able to stand for very long. His stump became stiff and atrophied so he could not use it to stabilize himself. We devised a sling which he would use at feeding time. As he sat most of the day, soon his front legs started to get stiff and even standing in the sling became difficult for him. When Vrinda died it was obvious that Madhu was affected and it meant that he was alone most of the time. He was stoic and never demanded any special treatment but always showed gratitude and appreciation when someone would offer attention. Many guests took a liking to him and would brush him and bring him snacks. He was expert at requesting bananas with his eyes and always managed to get his share. He remained seated for almost 3 years and since we rotated him regularly and sat him on sand, he did not develop pressure sores until his last month. During his last year Madhu's legs stiffened as he could not use them and he suffered much discomfort. He was extremely tolerant, noble, and never morose. He never got to roam in a pasture or be the bull he was meant to be, yet he was kind and affectionate to all who would sit with him. One of his friends who visited and brushed him regularly thinks that Madhu stayed with us for almost 10 years so that people could benefit from having the opportunity to serve a real Vrajabasai. Chaitanya Simhadasa with Pushpa, a cow he saved after she was run over by a car, saved by a cow and calf. The testimony of Chaitanya Simhadasa: if someone had predicted that one day I would be vegetarian, I would have made a wager against it and awaited a huge return. During my mid-20s my daily diet consisted of meat. When my mother cooked vegetarian food, I would wince and feel like it was a fast day. Meat was something that filled my belly better than any other food, and the more I ate, the more I felt satisfied. It never occurred to me that eating meat was connected to the slaughter of innocent animals. Despite my Indian descent, I did not restrict myself from any particular type of meat. Even eating beef was not a big deal for me. Since I was brought up in the West, I felt normal going to burger joints and consuming whatever was available, as life during the 80s was centered around enjoyment and selfishness. One would expect that coming from a Hindu background would mean one automatically had faith in a supreme person, but most in my generation knew little or nothing about who the supreme being was and what he required from us. However, whenever I read or heard about a disaster, natural or otherwise, I silently questioned God as to why this happened. My questions gradually deepened and I began to wonder who God is, what happens at the time of death, and why the world is full of suffering. My father was a patron of a Krishna temple in England, so devotees frequently visited our home to offer us sanctified food and other gifts. Once I questioned them regarding the purpose of life, and later one of them took the trouble to come to our house to give me a book. I was really not much of a reader, but the devotee noticed my hunger to know the truth. The next day I had to go to Kenya on a business trip and decided to take the book along with me. It captured my attention because it seemed to answer all the questions that were erupting in my head. I could not put it down and finished it before we landed in Kenya. As I waited for my luggage, my mind echoed the mantra the book had taught me: Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. I felt blissful and satisfied silently repeating this mantra. After getting settled in Kenya, my client invited me for lunch and took me to a lavish Italian restaurant. We browsed the menu and I decided to have veal flavored with various aromatic herbs and garden vegetables. Being young and pretty athletic, it was not a problem for me to digest such a meal. Throughout the day, however, the mantra I learned in the book would occasionally ring in my mind. I returned to my 5-star golf resort hotel, where I had a room far away from the reception where it was very quiet. It was a special room given to privileged clientele, and I felt honored as I needed a good night's rest away from the busy area at the front of the hotel. Little did I know that would be the night that changed my life forever. In my slumber I saw a beautiful fawn-colored cow with eyes shedding sad tears. Next to her was a calf of the same shade looking at me and beckoning why. This picture persisted and began to gnaw at my inner self, demanding that I question my actions. The vision of the cow and her calf persisted until I started to feel a burning sensation throughout my body. I felt as if my bed was transformed into red-hot coals. I was shaken from sleep and went to the bathroom to splash some water on my face. My head started to spin uncontrollably as if someone held me by the feet and spun me around. The image of the calf asking why appeared again. I did not know what to answer, but immediately bent over the toilet bowl and screamed. Whatever was in my stomach forcefully gushed out. I had never experienced such violent vomiting. For the next half an hour I spewed my guts out until there was nothing left except my life itself. I thought the end was near, that I was going to die. In this most bizarre situation, the pieces of the puzzle started making sense. I connected the book, the mantra, and the cow and her calf. The thought that my life could end with my head in a toilet in a 5-star hotel inspired me to pray deeply. I prayed to the Lord, if you wish that I live through this ordeal, I promise to never again eat any kind of flesh. My mind reacted to this prayer and asked, are you sure? I could not endure this nightmare any longer. With my stomach emptied out, I felt a new life dawning on me. I felt as though all my sins had been wiped clean and that I was starting a fresh new chapter in my life. I felt fortunate to be alive. After this I managed to rest and awoke just before dawn. As I watched the sun rise, I felt he was smiling on me. I looked into the mirror and saw a new life starting. The episode was something I can never forget, and I sat down and contemplated the events of my life. In a deep meditation I realized that just to gratify my tongue and belly I had inflicted pain and suffering on many innocent animals. I never again wanted to witness the pitiable tears of a cow being separated from her calf for the sake of satisfying my belly. A deep sense of regret overcame me and I felt ashamed for all the violence I had inflicted on poor animals. I again affirmed my vow to always be merciful to the innocent creatures of this world, and I felt a sense of acceptance from whom I had made my vow to. Many years have passed since that eventful day, and I see the cow as my only shelter. She saved me from the miseries of this world and made me aware of how prone we are to accept without question the violent norms of modern society. We are led to believe that the filthy temptations of Western society are acceptable when they are obviously not beneficial. Today, people, especially innocent children, have not a clue about the violence hidden behind the simple glass of commercial milk. Whenever I visit Vrindavan with my family, we feel gratitude while sitting amongst the residents of Care for Cows. It has become our favorite place as there we have a chance to connect with the sacred creatures who saved my life. The cow asks for very little and takes grass and other things we do not use and transforms them into love in the form of milk. Since cows want love and affection like all living entities, don't they deserve to be treated like human beings? Krishna himself cherished these most sacred animals by personally tending to them. I owe my life to them. Thank you to Mother Cow for saving me. New admissions to the right is one of the most gentle, humble, and noble bulls that has ever joined us. He was turned out to wander the streets and found his own way to our gate. He frequented our outside feeder and one day was invited in, as had made himself at home. Both of these new admissions require sponsors. Those interested in maintaining a well-behaved son in Vrindavan may inquire from Karmarapa, at careforcows.org. It happened again that an unknown foreign pilgrim saw an injured calf on the streets of Vrindavan and felt impelled to do something. Not discouraged by the prevalent apathy and disempowered feelings common to most passers-by, he pleaded for help only to be snickered at for his inability to speak Hindi. Finally a rickshawala feigned concern and helped the pilgrim load the young bull on the seat and brought them to Care for Cows for the correct fare ×4. After helping unload the bull and placing him on a clean sand bed, the pilgrim watched with concern the cleaning of the wound and the setting of the fracture, then sighed with great satisfaction for having made a selfless sacrifice to help the downtrodden, knowing it would please the protector of the cows. His face shone much brighter than that of the profit-oriented opportunist who peddled off to increase his fortune further. Abhirama Dasa Adi Sakti Dasi Alexandra Cole Majana Amit Goswami Anonymous Anshul Mehra Bhaktividyasagar Bani Hamdi Karl and Stella Herzig Carly Gumina Chandrika Pasupati Charles Power Christian Katz Derek Carol Devala Dasa Devender Kumar Dhruva Maharaja Dasa Doyle Govinda Dasa Elena Nikiforov Elizabeth Stewart Emil Bajarov Enver Ajanovic Gaurn Gapri Yadasi Hans Avatar and Yogamaya Yulia Erdem Irina Lukyanenko Jagannath Dasa Joseph Alman Kantilal Shivlal Panathai Puranavalokitri. Waterman Krishan Kanadaya Krishna Priya Dasi Labangalatika Dasi Lilia Murashiva Lilia Tonava Lucy Matanan Ludmila Gafner Ma Tat Madhava Dasa Madhava Priya Dasi Mandopa and Jagat Priya Mandira Mani and Sri Govinda Margaret Newman Mark Lee Nalini Gagar Nayan Rupar Elia Padma Inc. Paulo Musu Podolianu Irina. May cows stay in front of me, may cows stay behind me, may cows stay on both sides of me. May I always reside in the midst of cows. Hari Bhaktivila 16.252. The cows send their heartfelt thanks to those who assisted during November 2010. Thank you from the cows: Rachel Basarik, Raza Mandala Dasi, Renato Basarik, Rachel Borsh, Rahul Sharma, Ravi Gopal, Rohini Sudha Dasa, Rose Bako, Sergey Vasiliev, Shanti Green, Samruta Sawardekar, Swata Ajanovic, Sujana Dasi, Sirayakant, Gautam Tamaz, Zelanik, Tonas Porgan, Tracy Molina, Venkata Venkateswaran, Vijay Sharma, Vikas Shah, Vladimir Shlepkov, Vyapaka Dasa, Vyasapa Dasa, William Unya Janavakaya Dasa.